Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Welcome back to the Fight Pit WWE here at House Call Sports. My name is Sam. That is Justin. That is Ollie. And today, finally, the arrival of Joe Hendry. We discuss it. The Wyatt Sicks debut. And, of course, Clash at the Castle. All that coming to you and more. But first, a word from Vivid Seats. Vivid Seats is the most trustworthy and easy to navigate ticketing website. They have reliable and rewarding tickets and a 100% buyer guarantee, which means your transaction will be safe and secure. You will get full service customer care and be compensated for any canceled events. And get this, it's got the only ticket rewards program around. What that means is you could go to any WWE event, any NHL event, any event you really want to go. If you want to say his name, if you want to see some creepy stuff, if you want to see Cody Rhodes, whoever you want to see, go to Vivid Seats and they got you covered. Hit the link in the description and go sit vividly. Ladies and gentlemen, I never thought I'd see the day. TNA has officially come to an agreement with WWE, and they are now reaping the benefits because Joe Hendry has finally appeared on NXT. One of the most viral tweets that WWE has ever put out. It's insane how, if you go look at that tweet, it just has a bunch of likes. But the only thing it has, the only video that has more is the Wyatt Sicks debut. And even then, like, I would imagine that it's going to surpass it eventually. So, ladies and gentlemen, Joe Hendry, say his name. He finally appeared in NXT. And I think I'd be remiss if I didn't start with Ollie here. Ollie, you have the background. Just give me your thoughts and your feelings and just tell me where your head is at now that Joe Hendry finally appeared.
Well, I feel like, first of all, if you would have told 10-year-old me that we'd see a partnership, a fully functional partnership between WWE and TNA one day, I'd slap you in the face and call you stupid. Like, there's no way anyone could have seen this happen. But if we're talking about Joe Hendry, as someone who's been following him since 2016, since he was wrestling in the City Hall about 5 minutes from my house, then going back to ICW, then his first run in Impact with Grado, and then he came back after he got released, and then him in the North Side, and then back in TNA or Impact, and then when he got rebranded to TNA, and then, to be honest, best 30 seconds of my life, right? Shout out to the Lonely Island, the best 30 seconds of my life. And it took away a little bit for those who didn't manage to, because what I was watching, I missed about the first 30 seconds of everything. So it took me a good 3 to 4 minutes to realize that Frankie Kazarian was also in the Battle Royal.
Right? Yeah.
Along with a lot of other people, which is like, what the fuck? Frankie Kazarian's in this as well. But props to WWE, props to Shawn Michaels and NXT for finally listening and for saying his name. And I love, especially, what they did I love how they did it. I mean, you're expecting me to be Joe Hendry bias and go, we should have won it. No, I fucking love how they dealt with it. And just have him to be the first eliminated, because this is a debut that's been built up. It's been highly anticipated for months now. And just to have it is like, oh yeah, here he is. And he's gone in about 30 seconds. It's fantastic. And it sets up for a pretty decent storyline opportunity as well. And if you saw the video they posted after when he got eliminated and he was talking in the back with Shawn Michaels, he says he can show up on any show at any time. And I don't know whether that's a teaser that he's going to appear maybe on Raw or SmackDown, but I think it's definite that he's going to show up at least at a Rumble, maybe next year. But I also have seen reports that he's sticking around and this will not be his last appearance on NXT. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what opportunities can go with that. Ethan Page as well from that match. I think a good storyline there with Javon Evans, but Joe Hendry stole the fucking show. Did you see the camera as well? When he made his entrance. Yeah, and we didn't see that. Well, we saw it in a Backlash in France, but that was a massive arena. We're talking about the fucking Performance Center here. You have a much smaller venue making a camera shape like that. Just shows how much of a superstar this guy is. And for me personally, this is a bit like the whole Ilya Dragunov situation where I've grew up watching this guy. I've been familiar with him for years, and to see him finally get an opportunity like this, and to see WWE answer the call of 252 pounds of pure motivation to join their company, or to at least make appearances on their shows as a part of this whole partnership. Good setup, I think, as well. WWE versus TNA sometime in the future as well, because you have.
I think it's bound to happen.
It is, because you've got so many TNA stars appearing now on WWE, and then you've got some appearing on TNA, and I think AJ Styles has expressed that he wants to go back over there as well. So, look, I'm fucking sat. I am seated for this, however they decide to take it, because I know this will not be the last time we see the local hero.
Right, and I think what stuck out to me that Joe Hendry appearing was, first of all, the NXT crowd, they pop for a lot of things, you know. They're definitely a smart crowd. However, for them to pop like that, you have to be very popular. You have to be. And I think this was really just a trial for Joe Hendry. A trial to see, hey, can you get these people on their feet, right? And once his music hit, I mean, the video speaks for itself. I mean, it was just absolutely cinema. Like, you saw it. And, you know, I was a bit upset that he got eliminated super quickly. I was. However, I'm excited to see the fact that, you know, quite frankly, they're not done with it. I think they're very aware of how popular the guy is right now. So now my only concern, and I'm going to play devil's advocate here, WWE's fan base and NXT's fan base are the same, but they're also very different. And how I'll explain it is, if he debuted on a Raw, I don't know if he'd get that same reaction. The same way, if he debuted on a SmackDown, I don't know if he's gonna get that same reaction. It's really, really hard for WWE to just say, "Oh yeah, just go on Raw. Oh yeah, just go on here."
Camera again. Uncle Howdy's back, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh my gosh, there he is again. You already debuted, Uncle. Here we go again.
This is Uncle Saudi this time.
Uncle Saudi. My God. Ollie.
It's a QR code.
Ollie, bro, what the heck? As I was saying, man, Joe Hendry, he's as popular as it gets right now. It's no secret. So I'm curious to see what they do with him. I'm glad they gave him a microphone. Like just immediately just have him out there, talk to the crowd. Have it be interesting, you know what I mean? So, excuse me. Wow, long day at work. So Justin, I'll go to you, man. Your reaction to Joe Hendry, man, in NXT.
My reaction is literally everybody's reaction, from Twitter to TikTok to Instagram. We knew it was coming, but we just never knew when. And it just made for like absolutely one of the most viral moments that WWE has had. And this year alone, WWE has had a lot of viral moments on social media. But if you just scroll, like if you just search up Joe Hendry NXT, the reactions that you get from some of the top wrestling creators, as well as from WWE itself, if you scroll through their comment section, this was one of the most anticipated debuts that we have been waiting on. And it popped in such a great way. I haven't heard the crowd in NXT, even though they do pop a lot, I haven't heard them that loud since, I want to say, Trick Williams' entrance when he faced off against Ilya Dragunov for the title. And that tells you something, because that was loud. So to hear the crowd embrace Joe Hendry the way they did is embracing this collab between WWE and TNA, which 10-year-old me is going crazy about it, because I used to watch both shows. But let me settle something with a lot of the wrestling fans who are having some concerns about this. In no way does this mean that WWE or TKO is having any plans of buying TNA Wrestling. It's not going to happen. This is merely a collaborative effort between both companies, similar to what you see with Ring of Honor and AEW. It is meant to cross-reference both of their fans together, because there are TNA fans that may not be interested in WWE that are now going to get interested because their wrestlers are there. And there are WWE fans that have never seen TNA. So it's bringing a whole new audience into their platform. It is a mutually beneficial relationship between both companies, and that is what it is. It is a business relationship. But back to the fanboying stuff that we are getting because of this. I will agree with Sammy on one thing. NXT's audience is far and away different from Raw and SmackDown's audiences. And the reason behind that is NXT's audience are more similar to what you would see at an indie house show. They are more into like local homegrown talent. They don't mind a couple of botches. They don't mind if you're not the best on the microphone or in the ring, because they are watching what essentially will be the future of professional wrestling. Raw and SmackDown over the last 30 years has always been a more catered to the casual wrestling fan, somebody who may be brand new to the industry, somebody who's never seen it. So in that respect, yes, it would be a very bad idea if Joe Hendry were to debut on one of those two shows immediately, because a lot of the fan base would be like, well, who's this? Perfect example. When Braun Strowman made his debut on Raw way long ago, I was in the crowd because that was in, I believe it was a Raw after SummerSlam at the Barclays Center. And most of the audience were saying, who are you? And that's kind of the reaction you would get if you have somebody that you haven't had the chance to build up to be in that main roster level. That's why you used to see wrestlers like in 3-4 weeks have a bunch of promo packages to kind of build up that hype. But now it's like, where do we go from here? A lot of fans online are calling for an eventual match between Joe Hendry. Obviously, everybody wants him against Drew McIntyre, have that connection. But a lot of people are calling for Joe Hendry versus LA Knight, kind of like that Stardom versus Stardom kind of thing. So the sky's the limit as to where WWE wants to go from here with this collab with TNA. But I wouldn't be shocked to see a PLE with just like TNA versus WWE matches.
Yeah, and another thing is that I think that they're also doing TNA justice, and I'll explain why. Look, TNA is not going to come in and win all the time. Definitely. Look, TNA and WWE they are collabing, and you could tell they're collabing. How I know this? Well, they didn't let Jordan Grace lose clean. That is important. You got to protect your champ. They didn't put the TNA Knockouts Championship on the line when they did the championship match. They said, you know what? We're going to go ahead and have you lose. We're going to have some shenanigans, right? Like usual. And it's going to be something that doesn't like leave you saying, oh, this girl's a bum. I mean, how would she lose clean? The same thing with Joe Hendry. Yes, Joe Hendry got eliminated in 5 seconds, right? However, if you were paying attention, he got targeted by all of the roster, okay? All of them. And then on top of that, Frankie Kazarian, right there, was the top 4 in the Battle Royale to go for the NXT Championship. It's subtle things that show that you're protecting the talent from the other side, from the TNA. WWE is not in the business of burying these talents anymore. Gone are the days of the Super Cena where you just bury the Nexus, okay? Where you just bury oncoming talent, bury Samoa Joe, bury Braun Strowman, bury whoever, okay? Gone are those days. I think those days are far away from us. And on top of that, how I know that is that they're actually willing to collaborate with other companies now. It's not that it's just gonna be like this one-time thing. No, they're gonna do it consistently, and it's shown. And you know what? I'm excited. I don't know about you guys. I'm excited. I'm excited to see what NXT does with these TNA talents. I just don't want people to act like them losing is being buried. That's ridiculous. I do think TNA is going to pick up a couple wins too. But WWE has their own flop, has their own crop to grow. So you can't just like put over another. It's like with Ethan Page came in from AEW to NXT. Are we seriously going to let Ethan Page come in and beats Trick Williams in his very first title defense? That's not going to happen, okay? It never was going to happen. So you got to make it consistent. Now, speaking of just Scottish people getting screwed, Drew McIntyre, Clash at the Castle. I figured we just, start with this and we'll get to Cody Rhodes and we might get to the rest of the matches later, but let's just get down to the nitty-gritty when it comes to this. Drew McIntyre got screwed again at Clash at the Castle. We did not see it coming, even though some of us saw CM Punk coming in to screw Drew McIntyre. A lot of us didn't think Drew McIntyre was losing, okay? I don't think anybody saw that. However, it's a bit confusing, but also it makes sense. I'll get to my point in a second, but Justin, I want to go ahead and start with you. Give me your thoughts on Drew McIntyre not getting his moment.
I call a lot of matches correctly. We all know this. Like, I will go through a PLE match card. I can tell you with almost pure accuracy, like, how these matches will likely go. I did not expect this at all. I thought it was going to be Drew McIntyre was going to win. He was going to have his moment. This is his home, his territory. He'll be there with his family. And then after he wins, I would have expected some kind of shenanigans involving CM Punk. But the moment the referee got knocked down and went out of the ring, you already knew something was going to happen. And once you saw Damian go for the pin and realize nobody's counting, and then you saw Drew McIntyre hit the Claymore, and all of a sudden there was like a count of like 8, and nobody's still coming, and finally you saw a referee come down, you just finally thought like, okay, it's going to be a 2, and then Damian's going to kick out, and then the match is going to continue. Nope. It was a 1, 2. Everybody did not expect to see CM Punk at that moment. And CM Punk with the iconic pose that Drew McIntyre has been using over the last number of months to just embarrass CM Punk, this was the perfect get back at him for everything. But now it's just like, on the flip side with Damian, where do you go from here with his championship reign? Obviously, they want to do something with Seth Rollins now, which I'm even more shocked to see that Seth even came back, because wasn't it until that he had like a torn meniscus, and that's something that takes
it wasn't supposed to happen like at all. I don't think we were expecting Seth Rollins to appear this early. I'm almost concerned, but if the doctors are clearing him, I mean,
if the doctors are clearing him, I need him to go see James Andrews. Like, I need you to go see like one of these NFL, NBA doctors, because I need to be double sure that you can do it. Because one buckle bomb and I'm scared for your life.
Yeah, especially when he does that spot where he did that sunset flip. That spot scares me every single time, ever since it happened. I would imagine Seth is always hesitant to do that move. Real quick, I think it's a bad decision for Drew McIntyre to lose. I also think it's a good decision for McIntyre to lose. Let me explain why. Drew McIntyre losing, not getting his moment, pretty much he's never going to get a moment like that again. Like, let's call it what it is. He had 2 opportunities. Okay? He had an opportunity in Wales in 2022. He had an opportunity in his hometown in 2024, and it's just not going to happen again. He's not going to win a championship. He's going to win a title down the line, but the moment is not going to be as big as if it was at Clash at the Castles in Scotland. Like, it's not going to be. However, it's a good decision. Let me tell you why. First of all, CM Punk, they did this to perfection. The camera shot with CM Punk, I genuinely did not know it was him. I genuinely didn't. I'm like, it's about to happen. And then, bro, I saw that little grease on the hair, and I'm like, oh my gosh, of course. It's this damn CM Punk, bro. And now they're just adding more fuel to a feud that is already so good. And they haven't even had a match yet. Imagine that. Like, this is nuts. And it's a good reason to make Drew McIntyre lose. Also, I think a lot of people need to understand something. SummerSlam, Gunther is winning that championship, okay? So let me understand something. You want Drew McIntyre to win in Scotland, right? You're going to have him win in Scotland, only for him to drop the belts in a month. That is not a good title reign for a guy as dominant as Drew McIntyre. It just isn't, right? I want to teeter a bit away from Drew McIntyre and talk about Damian Priest, because Damian Priest in this PLE in particular was just, he had a scary, what looked like a terrible injury, and he fought through it. Not only is he cleared, but damn it, he looked great even after it. So, I just think that Damian Priest deserved a longer reign. This is definitely not a transitional championship reign. It's definitely not. This is a solid reign. From his title defense against Jey Uso, that was good. His title defense against Drew McIntyre, that was even better. I can't wait for his title shot against Seth Rollins. I know that's going to be good as well. I think overall, both of these all three parts, when it came to Damian Priest, Drew McIntyre, and CM Punk, played their part to perfection. I think it was a good decision to have Drew McIntyre lose. However, I'm, again, 50-50. You're not going to get a bigger moment than Scotland for Drew McIntyre. So, feel bad for him. Go ahead, Ollie.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with everything that was said. I do think Drew will win another championship, but I do not, like you said, I don't think there'll be as big of a reaction when he does, unless he turns proper mega giga babyface, which I don't know. But I was one of the rare people who actually didn't think Drew was going to win beforehand. I say that. I was under the impression that Drew was going to win until about 8 hours before the show started, because I was like, right, it's a PLE, it's in Scotland, it'll be fine, Drew's going to win, predictable as fuck. But then I see a picture on Instagram of CM Punk buying a Celtic football shirt in Glasgow at about 12, right? And the show started at 7. I see CM Punk in Glasgow at 12, and I'm like, right, well, if he's there, surely there is no way on earth that Drew doesn't win by a CM Punk interference. And even with that thought in the back of my mind, watching the match, seeing the ref come up, I had no idea. I was like you, Sammy. I had no idea it was him, because if you notice, there is another referee who has his hair slicked back like all the time. I thought it was that guy. It was only until when Punk stopped at 2, I was like, "You sneaky, you crafty little bastard! It's fucking CM Punk," and I knew it. But I also think another reason that Drew lost, not because CM Punk, was also because I think a lot of more people now are buying into the idea of Damian Priest as champion, because if you go back to WrestleMania when he first won it, even before he won it, a lot of people were settling into the idea of having Drew as the world champion again, because it was clear that Seth was going to take some time off after WrestleMania, so people were like, okay, yeah, Drew's going to be champion, this is probably going to go until about SummerSlam from here, he's going to lose it to Gunther, it was going to be a predictable but enjoyable reign. But nobody, well, I say nobody, some people will have seen that Priest would cash in, and then once he did and once he won, it was like, okay, well, what happens here? Where do they go from here? And it did feel at first like he was going to be a bit of a transitional champion, but with no idea of who was actually going to get it on the end of that reign. So, but now it's just changed, because a lot more people are buying into the idea of El Campeon, and it's becoming a lot more enjoyable than I initially thought it would. And if I'm being honest, it's obvious that he's going to lose it to Gunther at SummerSlam, but it has been, in hindsight and looking to what he's going to be able to do now, with the tensions and stuff within the Judgment Day, and with Priest being able to keep the cool head throughout it all, it's been quite good. And I do think that, well, I think this has protected Drew quite a lot, because there was no way he was getting beat cleanly in his hometown, or about 10 miles outside of his hometown. So they had to figure out a way to do that, and the most obvious method that sprang to mind was CM Punk. So not only have you protected Drew, You've protected Damien's reign, because I don't think that deserved to end so soon. And you've also guaranteed yourself a SummerSlam match that pretty much books itself between CM Punk and Drew McIntyre. So as much as people can say, oh yeah, it was the wrong call, Drew should have had the hometown pop, I don't mind it because I'm so excited for what this is going to lead to in the future.
Yeah, I'm just really excited to see where this really goes for the Drew McIntyre and CM Punk. And we already saw Drew McIntyre just quit. Like, what the hell? That's interesting. Raw is must-see television for sure right now. And I'm also really glad that Damian Priest is getting more time to shine as champion. I really am, because I think he, for the longest time, had no real direction, even with the Money in the Bank briefcase. And in one moment, they gave him the briefcase, they gave him the championship, and they gave him validity in that same process. Like, now it feels like he deserves to be championship. So, look, I know a lot of people are upset with the fact that Drew McIntyre lost. I think we should be feel a lot happier for that man, Damian Priest, man. Because Damian Priest deserves it, bro. He really does. And he's becoming better on the mic. He's gotten even better in the ring. And he makes you feel something. And he makes you feel. And that's what you got. And that's what you really want when it comes to a WWE wrestler. So I'm happy for Damian Priest. I'm happy for Drew McIntyre and what he's going to be able to do with CM Punk. I think Drew McIntyre is going to be just fine. Like losing this championship, I think it does nothing to him. I'm excited, man. I am. And speaking of excitement, look,
my cat's excited.
I know what we're about to talk about. We're about to talk about it right now. Before we start, I should preface this by saying, for weeks, the panel has been speculating when this thing was going to happen. And we all thought, yo, Saudi Arabia. We all thought, we all thought, don't you dare.
Get canceled.
We are like for real. If you say it
my
again,
weekly allowance.
Okay, you used it once. Okay, that's it. That's enough. Maybe Saudi Arabia. Maybe this week. Maybe next week. We're theorizing who's going to join the faction, right? And man, despite a lot of people saying, yo, when is this going to happen? It's getting a little old. I'm getting over it. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. Bro, they went out there, and I'm just going to go out there and say it. This was the greatest debut for a faction in wrestling history, bar none. I do not care about the Nexus. I don't care about the Shield, Evolution, DX, whatever you thought. I'm strictly talking debuts for factions. Okay? Debuts for factions. No faction did it like the Wyatt Sicks. No one did it like the Wyatt Sicks. Easily the best introduction and debut for a faction in WWE history, and maybe in pro wrestling history. Forget what happens from here on out. It's just facts. Everything from the production from when you first see Sister Abigail, the one shot that just happens, it's 5 minutes, not a single cut. You see Sister Abigail, you see Rambling Rabbit, you see who else?
What is it? Husky
the pig,
buzzard.
And then who was that? The beak, the beak
buzzard.
I see the buzzard.
The buzzard, right? When you see those characters, they feel larger than life. And people died. They died. They didn't just get beaten up. They died. You and I saw it, Justin. I saw it, Ollie. That man, Chad Gable, was dead. He did not. You can't convince me otherwise. None of you, not a single viewer who's going to watch this can convince me otherwise. Chad Gable is dead. And anybody in there that was with him is dead. Okay? They killed him. Nothing, no question about it. They killed him. I am so excited for this faction. They better not lose a single match for the entire year. I want to see this faction dominate. I want to see them going against people that we don't even expect. Okay, I want to. There's so many things that they could do with this faction. Here's my only thing that I want Hunter, Paul, Levesque, Triple H to understand. These guys do not need the titles. They do not need any titles. They don't need the tag titles. They don't need the championships, the World Heavyweight Championship, the Undisputed Championship. I don't want Sister Abigail to be going after random women's division. No. At least for now, not a single championship should be in their sight. At least for now. Okay? Oftentimes, when these larger than life characters go for titles, it's like, what the hell? Like the Fiend going for the Universal Championship. Why? What are we doing? He's larger than life. He's not chasing titles. Look, I've spoken my piece. All I'm gonna say is I'm so excited. I want the world to understand that this was Bray Wyatt's vision. Like, this is what he wanted to do. And if his health concerns did not result in the tragic passing, I guarantee you everybody would have been like, you know what? We get it now. We understand now. It took us a bit, but this is exactly what we've been waiting for. I just wish Bray Wyatt was here to see it, bro, because he would have been so proud, Justin.
He would have been proud. And let's go into the behind the scenes version of this before we talk about that absolutely fantastic one shot of a debut that they had. Because as someone who studied video production, that is the kind of cinema shot that makes you fall in love with characters. But let's go to the backside of it. Let's talk about the actual members of this Wyatt Sicks. You have arguably some of the best wrestlers who play the part of insane characters very well. Nikki Cross. Nikki Cross was in a faction literally called Sanity during her time at NXT. And everybody knew like all the chants, like the Nikki's got a secret or Nikki's gonna kill you. Like everybody grew up listening to Nikki Cross doing that. Then all of a sudden she wanted to be a superhero, which did not make sense to me. This insane Nikki Cross was like the pinnacle of her career. So for her to be Abigail the Witch or Sister Abigail herself, that is amazing. Then you got Eric Rowan, the last of the original Wyatt family, who, if you look at his outfit super closely, it paid homage to both Bray Wyatt and Luke Harper on his outfit during this debut. Then you got Joe Gacy, who was the next person that we saw. Joe Gacy in NXT was insane. The man literally was fighting in a straitjacket at one point, which was crazy. Then you got Dexter Lumis, who's my favorite out of the group. And I loved that buzzer mask that he had. That thing is just frightening. But Dexter Lumis was that guy that would send shivers down your spine without even needing to say a word. He just stared at you during his time at NXT. And then you got the man himself. You got Uncle Howdy, Taylor, Bo Dallas, whatever you want to call him. He is one single-handedly bringing this vision back to life. And he is doing it in a way where Wyndham, Bray would be super proud of it. Now that we got the backstory behind the scenes out the way, let's talk about this damn one shot. Like, from the moment the door opened and we saw Nikki Cross or Sister Abigail or Abigail the Witch just crawl out looking like she came straight out of The Grudge, you already knew we was in for something. And the second we got pointed like toward the back, I felt like we were in a haunted house. You go into the back, all of a sudden, there's security guards, there's wrestlers. You mentioned Chad Gable. There's also like a little bit, you can see Gunther in there too, that was knocked out by Eric Rowan. You go into Gorilla, lights are flickering, smoke is everywhere, more bodies everywhere. it's just like this is a pure horror movie kind of shot that introduces you to what you can expect from this faction. And I agree with you on one thing. They all do not need titles right now. None of them need titles. This is a faction of people that have made their career without ever really needing to hold a title. Now, some of them have. Eric Rowan has, Nikki Cross has, Bo Dallas has, but their careers have been already solidified without really needing that title run. So I think they could keep doing that, but I'm so excited to see where this faction goes next. And this is just another reason why Raw is must-watch TV.
No kidding, man. And I can't believe it's actually happening. Like you guys gotta understand something. Like there was a time where like we thought Bray Wyatt was dead, and so was his vision. Like there was nothing like Bray Wyatt. But the fact that we're seeing this is just a testament to the fact that WWE is willing to go back and revisit something that they might have said, you know, it might not work out. So, Ollie, I'll go to you, man. What do you think? The Wyatt Sicks debut, man.
Well, like Justin said, there's a lot of characters in here who have had previous experience playing some mentally weird characters. But ironically, I think the only character in there who doesn't have a history of that is probably the one who's best at it, Bo Dallas. Because his previous gimmicks, besides Uncle Howdy, which is obviously largely Bray's idea, has been nothing like that. You had the whole Bo Leave stuff, which I was a massive fan of. I Bo Leave on the, 25 match winning streak or something like that.
Yeah, he was hot in NXT.
He was. And then going on to that absolute shambolic mess that was the B team and the whole Miz Taraj, that was just hit them WWE having no plans whatsoever for him and Curtis Axel. To then pulling off Uncle Howdy and confusing people a lot because people were arguing back and forth over whether it was him, it could have been someone else. And I'd seen in the days and the weeks after Bray's death that a lot of people were conspiring. They were thinking over what's going to happen now because we had no real conclusion. There was nothing that really happened in the story other than one match against LA Knight at the Royal Rumble. But other than that, nothing happened. There were no real developments apart from the introduction of Uncle Howdy. And people were thinking, right, well, now that he's dead, what's going to happen with this? And people were conspiring. And I saw loads of people all over social media saying, well, this could be the idea for a new faction. We could have Alexa Bliss, we could have Joe Gacy, Dexter Lumis, all that. But I had largely forgot pretty much everything about that by the time of the 17th of June, Monday Night Raw, when it actually happened. And it took a lot of rewatching the segment about 50 times, and it took me every single time. It took a lot of going back, rewatching it all over, and the cryptic posts on Twitter, or X, whatever you want to call it, to actually figure out for myself, find out who these people were. I mean, Rowan was obvious because of the massive red beard. We all knew, obviously, Uncle Howdy, Bo Dallas. As soon as I saw the grudge bitch crawling from the door, I was like, okay, yeah, that's definitely Nikki Cross. But the other two, I was like, okay. And it took me looking back and then examining those, I'll say it, the most defined forearms in the history of professional wrestling to go, right, yeah, that's Dexter Lumis. I can recognize those forearms fucking anywhere. And then the other one was Joe Gacy. Now, he has a history of being a bit of a psychopath. And the only thing I hope for Joe Gacy is that his involvement in this faction does not mean he stops using his original NXT theme song. Because that, oh my God, one of the greatest things I've ever heard. And if being part of this, I mean, okay, yeah, because this has the potential to cook beyond belief, this whole thing. But so obviously I won't be hugely disappointed if he does end up dropping that song, but I would love it so much because it would fit so well with the whole mystic weirdness that's going on. And it can't have just been me that noticed that the Bo Dallas, Uncle Howdy, looks a lot different than the original version we saw of him. First of all, there's a lack of face paint underneath the mask. His clothes look a lot more ripped and torn. And
the man's got dreads.
He does. I don't know if this is like a sign of aggression or whether they were just like, right, let's just do something completely different because the old version, it was like, we take the old version, we make it 50 times scarier, and we show you to the world. But it has left me not above amazed and just fucking gobsmacked at how this all played out. But it has left me a little bit confused. Because if you look at some of the wrestlers that we saw on the ground, you had Gunther, you had Carmelo Hayes, and you, of course, had the Creed brothers and Chad Gable. Now, that's left me confused because I have no idea where on earth they're going with this. Because if you pay attention to those names I've just listed, they are all heels. Well, the Creed brothers aren't really, but we know that they're going to be involved with Chad Gable. May he rest in peace. And I feel bad for Chad Gable, man, because imagine that. He lost his faction, his title opportunity, and his life within 3 hours.
I'll throw out a wild conspiracy theory that I heard about this. So you mentioned the names that were like laid out. Now, the Creed brothers is probably going to be the exception to this, but I did hear a wild conspiracy theory that the attacks were chosen based on people who essentially betrayed a member of their family or faction. Gunther did it with it's not Kaiser, the other one,
Giovanni Vinci.
Yeah.
Carmelo Hayes did it to Trick Williams. Chad Gable did it with Alpha Academy. So it was like you basically went against your family, and now this family is going to take you out. It's a wild conspiracy theory, but it did make sense until you mentioned the Creed brothers.
Well, I just have no idea if they're trying to cement themselves as a babyface faction by taking out some of the top heels in the business, or they're just going after anyone they could get their hands on.
I think they're going to be tweeners. They have to be. They're too cool to be cheered. They're too just. You can't really label this faction a good guy, bad guy faction. You can't. I think this is more than that, and I think this was what Bray Wyatt intended it to be. So, I mean, look. I'll say it, man. I think that we could be entering like everything that Bray Wyatt has been able to accomplish. Ironically, this might be his best work. Like, I understand this is not his, but it's his. Like, it's his idea. It's his. Everything that happens within this faction was Bray's vision. Like that's the bottom line. So I'm excited for it, and more importantly, I'm excited that Bo Dallas is going to be able to really shine. I don't know what he's going to be named. I don't know if he's just going to be Uncle Howdy for the foreseeable future, but let me tell you, man, I'm glad that he's finally getting this kind of moment to shine. I know it happened mostly because his brother unfortunately passed away. But if he decided, you know what, I'm going to carry this legacy on, and Triple H was like, hell yeah, let's do it. Why not pull the trigger? And if this is the result it gets, well, what are we really doing? What are we really complaining about at all? So, I did want to end here. However, I decided outside that we're going to play a little game here. We're not going to take too long on this, of course, but now that we're kind of halfway through the calendar year for WWE, not the calendar year, halfway through the year 2024, I thought it'd be a great time. Hey, let's go ahead and rank the shows, the 3 branded shows, Monday Night Raw, NXT, and Friday Night SmackDown. So I think I have my mind made up. So I'm going to go ahead and start with you, Ollie. From 1 to 3, where exactly would you rank these?
I almost don't want to put one at 3 because they've all been so good. I think I'm probably going to put SmackDown number 1, purely because in the build-up to WrestleMania and all the fallout after, that is where we've seen the majority of the Bloodline Cody Rhodes feud play out. And as we all know, that has been the main focal point of the WWE. That's been the main draw, because you've had Roman Reigns' historic championship reign. You've had Cody Rhodes finishing his story. You had The Rock coming back and drawing so many more new eyes on the WWE and professional wrestling as a whole. He made wrestling cool again. And all of that largely happened on Friday Night SmackDown. So I'm going to put that at number 1. And then number 2, I'm really torn, but I think I'm going to go for NXT because of the sheer potential now. Not mainly because of what's happened already. Well, partly because of that, obviously, because we're ranking them based off half of the year so far. But because this has been the main focus of the crossovers between WWE and TNA. We've had Jordan Grace coming over. We've had Frankie Kazarian. We've had new signings coming left, right, and center with Shawn Spears, Ethan Page. You named them. NXT have probably signed them. And obviously, you now have 252 pounds of pure motivation appearing every Tuesday night. Well, not every Tuesday night, but you get that point in Joe Hendry. So the potential here, as well as how good this year has already been for them, I think just edges out Raw. Not because I don't like Raw, not because I don't like who's there or the storylines they're telling. But I just think that NXT, the potential for this new era and these new collaborations that they're doing seems to happen and revolve mainly around NXT. So that's why I'm only just marginally putting it ahead of Monday Night Raw.
Yeah, I'll say this. I would have agreed with you maybe a couple months ago, but I'll be honest. I think Raw has surpassed both brands. And I think Raw at this point is the A show, and it's back to being the A show. I think everything from the talent to the storylines, there was a point there, since WrestleMania, I think it's been so obvious that Raw has been the A show. And I know it's since WrestleMania, and it's like, oh, WrestleMania is not where the year began. I get that, and I understand the build up to SmackDown. I get that too. However, we're talking about consistency. And Raw, from the beginning of the year all the way to now, has been consistently the better show. And that's not to say SmackDown has been bad per se. I just think that SmackDown has been lacking. In terms of storytelling, I think they provide it. However, in the ring, I think there's something more that they could offer. They got some interesting characters, right? LA Knight is one of them. They have Cody Rhodes. That's another one. They got some great characters overall, all in that show. However, you got a combination of characters and ballers in that Raw locker room. That's why I'll put them at 1. And honestly, I was debating putting NXT at 1. Honestly, I was. NXT right now, you could argue, is the best show on wrestling television. You could argue that. However, I'm going to give it to Raw simply because Raw has been consistently good, and NXT has been consistently good as well. However, I do think since they are a developmental show, I do think that there are times where it gets a bit corny, it gets a bit choppy. The matches aren't as good as I would like them to be. Even though in the PLEs they give Match of the Year candidates almost every single time, I think from a show-to-show basis, I think Raw is better. I think NXT is way better than SmackDown as well. That just goes to show how good of a year WWE's been having, to the point where SmackDown is right now the C show, and even them, like their SmackDown is just must-see TV. So that would be where my ranking is. And Justin, did you go yet?
Not yet, but you and I are in the ballpark in the same point right here. So let me preface it by saying this. My ranking is based on storylines. That's what drew me into professional wrestling. That's why I still tune into professional wrestling, is for the storylines. Now, there is a big shift between Q1 WWE, January through March, and Q2, April through now at this point in June. Q1, I would have told you SmackDown was the number one show, because we had The Rock, we had Roman Reigns, we had Cody Rhodes, we even had Seth Rollins making appearances on SmackDown to help out Cody Rhodes. And that was carrying a bulk of SmackDown throughout pretty much January through WrestleMania. But after WrestleMania, with this whole fallout, honestly, SmackDown has been slacking, or compared to the other two shows. Not that they're bad, it's just there's not as much engaging storylines for me. So SmackDown, unfortunately, is my number 3 at this point. Number 2 has to be NXT, because NXT is where we are getting not just the collabs with TNA, but we had a lot of interesting storylines this past year, or like from January to now, in NXT. We had Trick Williams rising to the top of the brand and becoming the champion. We had his feud with Carmelo Hayes. We had Carmelo Hayes and Ilya Dragunov. We had so many great feuds. We've had the emergence of Obafemi, for Pete's sake. And if you still haven't seen this man compete, that man is a one-man wrecking crew by himself. So that is why NXT is my number 2 show. And Raw, from after WrestleMania till now, has been the number 1 show and has been the number 1 must-see thing on TV because they have great storylines on all 3 levels. Take a look at the main storylines with like the heavyweight championship implications. You have the whole thing with Judgment Day and Liv Morgan and Dom Mysterio and Finn Balor and them. You have that storyline. You also have the Drew McIntyre and CM Punk storyline. In the mid card, if you want to go that route, you got Sami Zayn and Chad Gable. You got Chad Gable in the Alpha Academy. In the women's storylines, you have what is going on with Liv Morgan, honestly, with the Judgment Day. So they have storylines on all 3 levels, and they keep adding more. This Wyatt Sicks is just now the newest addition to an already stacked storyline that we are getting for Raw. And the one thing I 100% wish would have happened is that all of this would have happened next year when we're on Netflix, when there is nothing that they can't do because of the FCC. I would love to see how that debut would have turned out on Netflix when anything could happen.
A million men screaming, it could have been me.
That's my ranking.
I mean, yeah, I mean, look, man, like straight up, you guys got to understand, like, when WWE does Netflix, right, the bar that they can push raises. Like, it's like, you're gonna hear Gunther cussing. Like, what the hell? Like, we're about to hear Braun Breaker be himself. Like, for real.
Oh God.
CM Punk can finally be unfiltered. Now, I hope this actually is the case, because I don't want this to be like a thing where, oh, they go to Netflix, but it's the exact same. Like, I don't want that. I want it. We're on Netflix, but also we can do whatever the hell we want. Like,
it's gonna be Attitude Era 2.0. Like, it's literally gonna be everything.
And with actual like good matches too. Like we're not getting Attitude Era with then like clunky brawling matches. Okay, like we're getting real grabs for real, man. So excited. Damn, bro.
Just out the live, sex celebrations. Just leave that back in the past.
Yeah. Also leave out all the racism, unless it's funny. Leave out all the racism, okay? Please, for God's sake. If it's funny, cool. If it's not funny and it's just weird, like when Jinder did that thing with, like when Jinder made that joke about Shinsuke Nakamura, it wasn't funny. It was just weird, okay?
Okay. However, so how did you feel about Miz and Truth with the ice cream truck?
That was funny. It was fun. Was it not funny?
No.
Am I crazy for thinking that's funny? Come on now. Like that was. It has to be good comedic timing, okay? We're about to get into a debate about yeah, exactly, bro. Like if you want to insert funny, like edgy jokes, bro, like they're already pushing the line with Liv Morgan and Dominic Mysterio. Okay? They're already doing that. My goodness. Speaking of Liv Morgan and Dominic Mysterio, one quick thought before I go on and leave. Look, man, I don't know what this is leading to, but I need Rhea Ripley to come back and rip Liv Morgan's head off. Okay, this is torture every single week, bro. This is not cool. I need Rhea Ripley to whip ass. Like I'm done. I'm done with this. Okay.
Nope. What we need is Finn Balor to explain himself on why he left with the hotel room key.
Yeah. Look. Oh, for when Rhea does come back, Tammy, if you look at that little flag behind you, just tape over the first eye, and we're sorted.
Oh, yeah. Yo, I just realized. Yeah, the Miami. Look, man, that's never being changed. Okay, Miami till I die. With that being said, what a great episode. You guys killed it, Justin, Ollie. We thank you guys so much for watching this episode. If you'd like to go ahead and subscribe if you're new, and comment down below what you think of Joe Hendry, the Wyatt Sicks, and Clash at the Castle. what you think about Liv Morgan, what you think about Raw, SmackDown, NXT, whatever you might think, go ahead and comment down below. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, wherever your socials are. We're probably there. Like and subscribe. We will see you guys next time. Peace.